Welcome everybody to today's webinar on performance management for the childcare industry, brought to you by HR Assured. My name is Adam Kemp, Business Development Manager for HR Assured, and with me is Alexandra Sullivan, our Workplace Relations Consultant and Solicitor. HR Assured provides 24/7 HR support to your childcare centre. No matter what employment issue you are facing, you can have peace of mind that HR Assured will have you covered. Today we'll be focusing on performance management of staff, how to protect your business against claims in the Fair Work Commission and get the most out of your staff management processes to ensure your workforce provides the best service to your kids. HR Assured's legal team has been specialising in workplace relations for the childcare industry for numerous years and has been supporting some of the biggest names in the business Australia-wide. The reason for focusing on HR support in the industry comes from numerous directions. The Fair Work Ombudsman has received a large $40 million funding grant to increase audits across Australia to ensure that all Australian businesses are compliant with the Fair Work Act, specifically targeting businesses that employ vulnerable workforces such as cleaning services, petrol stations and childcare providers. Recent data shows that 96% of childcare workers are female, almost a third are aged 24 or less, and employees across 420 businesses. 40% of businesses in New South Wales alone fail to meet the minimum requirements of compliance. Coupled in with the increase of fines from $5,200 up to $52,000 per breach, the Fair Work Ombudsman is making it abundantly clear that all businesses that operate in Australia need to have their HR housekeeping done as soon as possible. HR Assured offers the industry numerous aspects of HR support, including audits of payroll to identify issues of underpayment, development of childcare specific policies and procedures, record keeping and work health and safety software to ensure that all staff qualifications and working with children checks are current, 24-hour advice and representation against employee claims in the Fair Work Commission. HR Assured assists a large amount of childcare centres with different aspects of people management. Some of the biggest issues that we dealt with in May and June were around issues of termination of employment, advice on annual leave, award compliance and public holidays, employee contracts, long service leave and allegations of staff misconduct. If any of these topics are something that your business needs to focus on, you can get in touch with me at the end of this education session and I can run you through some of the business support options. Today we'll be focusing on performance management in the childcare industry, where our telephone advice representative and HR expert, Alexandra Sullivan, will be providing you advice and tools to support this process in your business. If you have any questions you would like to ask, please use the web chat option on the right side of the screen and we will address them at the end of the presentation. Please keep in mind issues of confidentiality when referring to staff problems, including staff and centre names and identifying attributes. I'd like to introduce you to Alex, who will run you through performance management in childcare.
Thanks, Adam. I'm one of the workplace relations consultants and solicitors who works on HR Assured's telephone advisory line. HR Assured's telephone advisory line is comprised of experienced HR and IR professionals and qualified solicitors and is one of the most highly regarded telephone-based employment relations services in Australia. Our HR advisors are available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The telephone advisory team takes up to 15,000 calls per year, many of these calls from childcare businesses experiencing similar issues to that of yourselves. Our advice areas range from general award or agreement interpretation advice, counselling, discipline or termination of employment advice, work health and safety, performance management, to equal opportunity, bullying or discrimination, enterprise bargaining and even underpayments. As we will explore in the presentation today, we've assisted a number of childcare businesses achieve fantastic results in the employment relations sphere. So why are we here today? Our first module will look at managing performance and behaviour successfully. We'll look at why we manage performance, when we manage performance, and your role in that process, as well as stepping you through the correct process to follow. Our second module looks at having the difficult conversations with our employees. We'll look at what the difficult conversations are, why we don't have them or don't have them well, as well as provide you with some tools to have those conversations. The objectives of today are to gain a better understanding of effective people management, to learn ways to have the difficult conversations, and to discover how HR Assured can help you. So why do we manage our people? We do it to comply with policy and procedure, to manage the employment relationship effectively, to establish a sound and defensible framework for dealing with underperformance, to improve business line and company productivity, and to improve individual performance and behaviour. So what is your role in this process? The roles of managers in this process is to monitor performance, provide informal, constructive feedback, seek and consider feedback from employees, conduct formal performance reviews, provide support and training, and agree on set goals and objectives. So when do we manage our people? We do it when we experience serious misconduct with employees, when we see unsatisfactory conduct, when our employees have unsatisfactory performance, and during our annual reviews. When do we manage conduct? We do it when we see unacceptable conduct or serious misconduct. Serious misconduct is conduct which is so serious that the employment relationship cannot continue and negates that need for a graduated process or prior warning. Examples include breach of the cardinal rules, theft or fraud, assault or drunkenness, breach of safety policy, or bullying and harassment. We manage conduct when we experience unacceptable conduct or unsatisfactory conduct. So what is unsatisfactory conduct? It's still misconduct, but of itself is not so serious that the employment relationship cannot continue. For example, inappropriate language, absenteeism, non-compliance with lawful and reasonable directions, or not following policies. When we experience unsatisfactory performance, we also manage performance. That relates to the employee's behaviour and capacity to do the job. It might be due to a lack of commitment or competency or even capability. For example, repeated errors or mistakes made by employees, general lateness, poor attitude or poor customer service, or failing to meet KPIs. So these are some of the conduct and performance issues we've seen at HR Assured when working with childcare centres. Often we see behaviour towards children and parents as poor, attendance, so absenteeism and timeliness, compliance with policy and procedure slips, there's a failure to follow directions, there's poor attention to detail, behavioural problems, and disputes between employees. So how do you think your business performs when it comes to people management? If you aren't doing it well, why is that? And how can we improve? So why don't we have those difficult conversations? Often we have tricky time constraints. We don't understand how important those conversations are. There's uncertainty around how to approach the issue. We think that they won't result in a consequence. They're often difficult discussions to have. They're too confrontational, and we're worried about the future relationship with employees. What are the consequences of not having those conversations? We could experience inefficiency and lost productivity, high absenteeism or high staff turnover. There's a risk of a bullying or harassment claim, and even a risk of an unfair dismissal or a general protections claim. So people management as a process. First, you have to set the standards and consequences. This can be done through the development of policies and procedures, and the initial audit that HR Assured provides gives you access to compliant policies and procedures. You have to help the employee reach the standards. You then need to assess their performance against those set standards, provide feedback, seek and consider the employee's response, set goals and objectives, and most importantly, follow up. So when you're having those discussions, preparation really is key. Seek advice from a workplace professional, which could be the telephone advisory line at HR Assured. Ensure that you're referring to clear communicated standards, stick to the facts, be constructive and work from notes. The first performance management stage is really about walking down the road hand in hand, trying to get a great outcome. A solution the employee has a hand in is one they're most likely to achieve. You do need to give the employee support that they need to improve, so offer it. So during the meeting, be calm, circle back to the central issue, workshop solutions with the employee, get commitments from the employee, identify any development needs, and then set expectations and a review date. So what's next? After the meeting, you need to follow up, provide support, continue to review and measure performance, and then record all relevant information in the employee's file. So what are some common mistakes that we see during performance management discussions? It's employers not preparing with all the details, evidence, failing to listen to the employee's responses, providing vague feedback or being overly critical, relying on opinion or personal standards, taking it personally, and leaving it all for the annual review. So some take-homers now. People management should be aimed at achieving improvement, not as a step to termination. Acting too soon is always better than acting too late. Follow your own policies and procedures. Stay objective and treat employees with respect and courtesy throughout the process, and keep an open mind throughout the decision-making process. Avoid assumptions and slanting information based on who is giving it. So a quick case study now. The team behind HR Assured's Employment Relations Support recently scored an important win for a childcare client. While the win was a really great result, the case demonstrates why HR Assured is vital for centre owners and the reason our subscription-based offering is finding rapid take-up within the childcare industry. In this particular case, an employee at a centre notified her employer that she needed to go overseas to care for her sick mother. The centre owner was really sympathetic but wanted evidence to demonstrate that the employee's mother was actually sick and that she did in fact require care. The short story is that the evidence the employee provided was pretty flimsy, and with the team from HR Assured support, the centre rejected the leave application and directed the employee to continue to work. The employee ignored the centre's direction, left the centre short-staffed, and as a result, the centre terminated her employment. Now this might seem a fairly straightforward and fair termination, and at HR Assured we believe that it was, but even the most straightforward, fair termination can be challenged, and centres have to either fight them and incur legal costs that are likely to be around $15,000 to $20,000, or pay go-away money to terminated employees during mediation. Recent data from the Fair Work Commission shows that go-away money will regularly involve payments of between $4,000 and $40,000. In this case, the centre chose to fight and were completely successful, with forensic background work from the team behind HR Assured causing the Fair Work Commission to find that the employee had effectively lied about the whole of her case. She booked her travel before asking for leave, her mother did not have the operation that was supposed to lead to the employee providing care, and the mother actually had other family members who could have provided the care. These types of cases happen all the time. 50 dismissal claims are made every single day, and many of them are as baseless as this one. HR Assured will protect your centre against these claims and ensure you're not hit with large unbudgeted costs.
Thanks very much for listening, guys, and that's a great presentation from Alex. We'll now address some of the numerous questions from our attendees in a very short 10-minute question and answer session. So first question that's come through, Karen from South Sydney would like to know, does she have to pay her staff for attending staff meetings?
That's a really good question, Karen. Basically, it depends whether or not the meeting is mandatory. So if it is a requirement that all employees attend the meeting, then it would be considered time worked and you would have to pay your employees for the time that they spend at the meeting. If you tell employees that it's not mandatory, they can choose whether or not they attend, but if they do attend, you won't be paying them, then no, there's no obligation on you to pay your employees.
Oh, beautiful work. All right, next question comes from Amber in Brisbane. One of her employees keeps taking smoke breaks, but not during their designated break time. What are her options?
Okay, so employees aren't entitled to take unauthorised breaks, no matter what they like to tell you. They can only take breaks in their allocated break time. So if they're a smoker, that's fine, but they can only take smoke breaks during their set meal or rest breaks. You might also want to think about putting in a policy about where employees can smoke. So some of our childcare clients have policies that employees can't smoke within 20 metres of any doors or windows. So that might also be something you'd like to put in place.
Beautiful work. All right, so next question comes from James in South Australia. He'd like to know, do I need to issue 3 warnings or 1 verbal and 2 written warnings before I can terminate? I think it's the age-old question.
It's a really good question, but it's actually not a legislative requirement that you have to give employees 3 warnings or even 1 warning before you terminate. However, you really need to give the employee a chance to fix any performance issues before you terminate. So if you fire an employee and then they make an unfair dismissal claim, the Fair Work Commission will take whatever warnings you've given them into consideration when making their decision. So it is always a good idea to give employees warnings.
Jenny on the Central Coast, she had a performance management discussion with one of her employees recently, a couple of days ago. She'd like to know how long she needs to wait before she can review their performance and until she can have a follow-up meeting with them.
Okay, so this one really depends on the issues that you're having with the employee and how long would be reasonable in the circumstances for them to have the chance to improve. So for example, if the performance issue is that they're not properly recording their observations of children, and this is something that they're required to do every day, it should really only take a couple of days for you to see an improvement in how their recording has improved. However, if they only do this particular task once a month, it will then require you to wait a lot longer before you can observe if they are improving and before you can have a follow-up discussion.
Okay. And final question before we run out of time. Claire in Newcastle, she has a pregnant employee and she thinks she's really slacked off since falling pregnant. And she just doesn't monitor or watch the children like she used to. She seems distracted. Can she performance manager even though if she's pregnant?
Yes, you definitely can. So an employee who is pregnant is still required to perform at the required standard. They're still an employee. As long as you're not performance managing this particular employee because she's pregnant, because that would carry discrimination and general protections risks, you're definitely still able to performance manage them.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Alex. Look, if we didn't get to your question today, we'll get back in contact with everyone after the webinar. Alternatively, you can email in at inquiries@hrassured.com.au and one of our highly trained staff will get back in touch with you to resolve some of your queries. Thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate taking time out of your day to get some deeper understanding of what your requirements are and to understand some of the risks of getting it wrong. Please get in touch with us if there's anything we can do. Thank you very much.